Hey everyone, welcome to Primary Market Chatter, brought to you by Sunday Investing. This is our February second week uh, IPOs space where we'll talk about the IPOs which are coming in this week, in coming week, and it's going to be a two-part series where we'll cover like half of the IPOs today, and then we'll do a midweek series as well where we'll cover the remaining half IPOs. That's because the number was slightly too big to cover in one space. There are in total nine IPOs next week, and it's good to see a few IPOs coming back, especially after a long hiatus, because the markets have been like sell any bounce. So it's been very difficult for any like primary market participants to come up with their IPOs, and majorly whatever IPOs have came, they have also seen very dull response from the primary market participants. So it's good. I'm hoping that there's some enthusiasm which is back. I see a lot of good IPOs at least coming at prima facie, and we'll talk about them. So just setting up the space for today. Before I actually talk about कि हम इस week किन किन IPOs की बात कर रहे हैं, just want to highlight a couple of things. One, we are not SEBI registered. You have heard it enough number of times, but I want to repeat it. So none of our opinions are qualified opinions. It's just what we think as our what we think would as essentially make sense, and our opinion is. So definitely do your due diligence and do not go by what we are just saying point blank. Definitely, if you think what we are saying is wrong, please point it to us as well. It would be very helpful for us also to just, because again, like we are no experts. We are just like, we have our opinion about IPOs and we are just vocal about it. So if you know something, if there is something which you feel is important, definitely tell us. The comment section is on. So जब हम किसी IPO की बात कर रहे हो, उसके बारे में आपका कोई pointer हो, उसके बारे में आपका कोई question हो, definitely post that in the chat box as well. That would be very helpful. Second, if you have joined us for the first time, we do this every week and then we post it also on our YouTube channel. The link to the YouTube channel is in the pinned comments, ताकि आप YouTube channel को follow कर लें. वहाँ पे you can listen to these IPOs category wise and then probably take a decision if you want to take a call. If you want to take a call, whether you want to join any of these IPOs if you want to listen to any of these IPOs at your own leisure. Having said that, let me set up the agenda for the day. We'll probably start with a couple of SME IPOs, then go to Ajax Engineering, which is a decent size mainboard IPO. And I can tell you, without even going to the reviews, had this came out 3 months ago, this IPO would have been very crazily subscribed. It's a very good IPO. So it's a good opportunity, I feel. Maybe I'll leave it until later when we discuss about it, but then we'll talk about Ajax Engineering, then go back to two more SME IPOs, ReadyMix Concrete and Chandan Healthcare. Chandan Healthcare again is a very interesting IPO. So maybe we'll start with Solarium Green and then take it forward from there. Just setting up the company. The company provides turnkey solar solutions, including design, engineering, procurement, construction, testing, commissioning, etc. So a very typical EPC player for residential, commercial, industrial, and government solar projects. So another solar player which is hitting the markets. The theme has slightly cooled down for it, but again, a lot of solar players have listed themselves on the SME board. Just setting up the IPO. It's a 105 crore IPO, so big size IPO, all of which is a fresh issue. The company is coming at a market cap of 400 crores. So they are diluting the bare minimum 26.5%. In terms of the financials, company का जो revenue था वो 180 crores था FY24 में, and PAT उन्होंने किया था 15.5 crores का. So it's coming at a rather steep valuation, like I think 310, 27, 26 P type आ रहा है FY24 financials के basis पे. In terms of the LM, the LM is Beeline Capital. So with that, maybe do you want to go ahead and talk about your read of Solarium Green Energy?
Sure, Manish. So I think as you've set it up, this is another solar EPC player. It's a little different from some of the others, but I think broadly it falls into this bucket of EPC, which is this design, engineering, then procurement, supply, construction, testing, commissioning, the entire sort of value chain of setting up some kind of solar plant. Now that can be a residential rooftop kind of plant. They do so, or rather, let me just say that they work on three types of these solar plants. The first one is this residential rooftop projects, which is essentially a B2C business. They also do commercial and industrial, which is say for the small industries who want to solarize their facility and sort of get electricity from some kind of solar source or renewable source. They would set up plants, captive plants for them. And then they also do some government projects. So these are the three bits that these guys do. There's a fourth thing which you will see in their revenue, which is they were into solar panel manufacturing as well, for which revenue was there till last year. But from this year, that's more or less stopped. I think they must just be clearing out some inventory, but more or less that business is completely stopped now. They've stopped manufacturing in the entire year. The reason for this is they were not able to get into that ALMM list because the panels they were making were not of the desired efficiency. So they have decided to completely shift to EPC. So we should look at their business also purely from an EPC standpoint and just sort of ignore their panel business, which was effectively almost no margin kind of business for them. So if you see what they do in the EPC space, they do residential. And broadly, if I just tell you their numbers, last year they did about 40 crore of residential. They did 60 crore of EPC and 70 crore of product sale. So if you ignore this product sale piece, they did roughly 100 crore of revenue last year, 40 from residential and 60 from this sort of CNI and government EPC. In H1 of this year, they've done already 40 crore of residential and about 30 crore of EPC and some very, very small amount of product sale. My expectation is that, then there's something that they also mentioned in an interview, that they do 30-70. So 30% of business in first half and 70% in second half. So they should be able to do around anywhere from 230 to 50 crore kind of revenue for this entire year, which is actually not bad. So kind of have to ignore the numbers that you see over the last 3 years for this business because a lot of that is just boosted by this panel business, which does not exist anymore. They have a decent order book. They have about 140 crore of pending or uncompleted orders in the government and CNI section, and another 60 crore, which is L1. So you can say about 200 crore of order book against, a 60 crore revenue last year. So which is not too bad. They've also bid for another 800 odd crore where they're awaiting for the tender. Plus, they also have about 2,200 residential projects, which are yet to be completed. That's another, I'd say, 25 to 30 crore worth. This is a high churn thing, so the order book does not matter so much in residential because these will get done very fast and you will continuously keep adding new clients. And they have like a certain different channel by which they get residential products. So overall, their order book relative to each of their business streams is reasonable. It's fine. As I mentioned, so if you look at what they've done so far, they did about 100 crore in these two businesses last year. But if you assume that they will do around 250 odd crore for FY25, they should be able to do about 22 crore PAT, which I think is the right way to look at this business at least. So on an FY25 basis, they're coming at about 16, 17 times, which is, in my view, not that expensive actually. I mean, most of the solar players still do trade higher than this. Even today, even after the drawdown, most of the solar businesses do trade at a 20 to 25 kind of multiple on FY25. Now, one thing here is the majority or the way these guys are different compared to, say, let's just take an Oriana Power, for example, or Bondada or any of these other numerous solar EPC players that are there. They are kind of saying that they're focused on residential solar, which is more of a B2C game. But at least how I understand it is, it's not really B2C, it's mostly execution because there are lots and lots of small unlisted players because actually residential solar is a fairly uncomplicated business. So it becomes more about execution, timeliness, trying to get to the customer at the right point in time, delivering it in, within say 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever that is. And there's a lot of price, people compete on price. So I personally am not that excited about this residential solar kind of business because just too many players are unorganized and organized. And if you look at most of the solar EPC businesses, they are kind of looking for some kind of differentiation. They either focus on these large sort of projects, which very few people can bid for, or they diversify into other kind of renewable businesses. It could be hydrogen or any of these other numerous things that are coming up. Because of that, even though I feel that this is maybe at a slight discount to other companies in this space, I am not very confident that there will be much gains here. I have a feeling that this company is going to behave a little bit like another recent Beeline listing, which is this company BR Goel, which was cheap, but it basically listed flat. It was fully supported by the anchors and it's, 10% down. It is upar niche from the IPO price only. And if someone wants to see some gains there, you probably will have to hold for FY25 numbers, which means you'll have to hold for at least 3 months. It's unlikely this will trade as cheap as 16, 17 P when that happens. So it feels like given that Beeline in the past has supported such listings, I feel that it won't list negative. I don't expect any blockbuster listing either because sector is a little thanda and I kind of expect it to stay in this range. And if someone has the patience to hold for 3 months, it might, and once the full year results come and if they do deliver these kind of numbers and get to 250, 260 crore, then I think there could be some slight price up move. So that's my view. I'm not overly bullish on this. The sector has lost a lot of steam, even though the execution of the companies hasn't suffered. I mean, people are acting as if solar is, the sun is going to turn off, but execution of companies continues to be good. And I think that is going to happen. So they will deliver numbers, but I don't think the market is really going to value it right now. So my sense is given the size of the float and so on, it's going to behave a lot like VR Goel. It's going to get supported by a lot of the anchors who will buy it in and around IPO price. So negative listing looks unlikely, but not expecting much upside either. And any upside will be seen maybe 2 or 3 months down the line. So that's my view. I think only risk takers can apply, or people who don't mind this sort of getting stuck, not stuck, but don't mind holding this for 2-3 months. I personally am not very interested in this for the long term unless there is some change in strategy and they're able to start winning different kinds of orders, larger orders, and show that they're able to go beyond just solar. Otherwise, there are far better players in this space already listed.
Thanks, Rohit. If it's going to behave like VR Goel, then you will probably get 5 lots.
Easily. You'll get 5 lots and get a 1 rupee premium.
There a question here. You are saying this is a B2C sort of a play, right? So from my understanding, B2C can have a slight more margin, right? Because if you have built a brand, and my question to it is, I understand there were some film stars in its IPO, pre-IPO, etc. So if it is able to build a brand, do you think it will be able to charge a premium for it? Because end of the day, B2C, I still think a brand play is possible, right? B2B will always compete on price versus this, where if people for some reason think that solar लगवाना है तो solarium से ही लगवा रहा, something like that. Or do you think it's a very far-fetched argument which I'm making?
So my understanding is this is B2C in that the final customer is B2C, but the acquisition channel for them is still through these intermediaries and agents that help bring the customers to you. So you'll partner with a bunch of these agents, distributors, you can say, who source customers. And it's not like there are people organically coming to Solarium for this, because this business is a very, very sort of price sensitive kind of business. And in the unlisted or not unlisted, in the unorganized local market, you'll always find someone who can undercut you. And generally, Indian consumer is looking for the cheapest solution. Even if it is not the most reliable, they're looking for the cheapest solution. So it's very difficult to build a B2C brand in a space like this, which is super commoditized, or at least in the consumer's mind, it's very commoditized. There's no difference between one solar panel and another. It's all the same product. It's just people installing a sort of off-the-shelf product, right? So I don't personally think there is really a B2C or a very strong B2C player. You're competing with like the Tata Powers of the world if you really want to talk about brand in rooftop solar. So I personally am not buying the story that this is B2C. It is simply execution, doing it on time, and almost everyone will be more or less in the same ballpark here because the underlying thing that you're giving is not very complicated. So it's not like there's a product innovation or some kind of service innovation. There's nothing. So I don't buy that this is a big. I don't think people are coming and saying, I will get my rooftop done only through Solarium. So I'm viewing this as a business where they actually have to fight a lot on margins. They will have to fight on price. So B2C will be cutthroat. B2B, you can still bid, find the right projects, bid for projects with, certain things that suit your delivery and your business. But B2C, that is very hard to do. So I'm actually more negative that this is kind of B2C than otherwise.
Got it. Second question. I saw the anchor list quite decent. Anything that you could probably pick on the anchor list? And a very specific question. Usually I don't take names as such, but I see Nivesha in this, and Nivesha has been slightly bullish on the solar space for quite some time. Like they had invested in Vari back in the day, and from them, then they have been kind of leading some of their investments in the solar space. So anything which you think you can probably specifically because this is a solar listing, or you think any opinion on that? If you have one, if you're not, then we can pass on.
Yeah, I mean, I did think that the anchor book was decent. The anchor book, again, it reminds me a lot of BR Goel, because there also the anchor book was decent with a few, like I think Nagin was a big part of the BR Goel one. Nivesh is a big part of this one. A few, like I think Mavera was a common, who's also showing that they're slightly more long term. So there are a few decent names, not a bad anchor book at all. But again, going back to this BR Goel example, somehow this is just reminding me of the solar version of BR Goel. And I feel like it's going to play out ditto. Like
BR
the
Goel was
market
also
overall,
Beeline. Yeah. BR Goel was
sorry,
also Beeline. Yeah. BR Goel was also Beeline.
it was also Beeline, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
It was
So,
Beeline with similar size, similar everything. Somehow it just gave me vibes that BR Goel will happen once more.
so you have given the tagline, right? Like solar ka BR Goel hai.
Solar ka BR Goel, yes.
Got it. No, yeah, but that was our review. Again, we can be wrong, but let us know what you guys think about it. I have a few questions with respect to basics of solar. We'll probably do it someday on what is happening on the solar industry. But yeah, for that's another day. We'll probably move forward to the next company now. The second company we'll be discussing is Eleganz Interiors. The company specializes in providing fit-out solutions for corporate and commercial spaces, like laboratories, airport lounges, workspaces, commercial retail spaces, etc. In terms of the IPO, it's a 78 crore IPO, 78 crore ka IPO, all of which is a fresh issue. So everything is going into the company for growth. In terms of the market cap, it's coming at like 300 crores of market cap. So raising 78 crores at 300 crores market cap, so diluting like 26%. In terms of the FY24 financials, they did 223 crores of revenue and 12.2 crores of PAT. They have a decent, like slightly lowish on margin, but that's understood because they are in a sort of a design and construction sort of a play. So they have 5% sort of a margin, 12.5 crore in the PAT kiya tha last year. And they are coming at 300 crore market cap, right? So they're coming at somewhere around like, I think 30p, if I'm not wrong, even 35. No, 12, 20, 27p, 27p in terms of FY24%. In terms of the LM is Wipro Financials. So let's just quickly talking about Elegance, and this should be a rather quick review. So what the company basically does is it provides interior fit out solutions and is involved in two major segments: design and build and general contracting. Design and build is basically कि जैसे ही कोई बिल्डर को कोई एक बिल्डिंग बनानी है तो उसका पूरा डिजाइन एस्पेक्ट से लेके कि भाई कहाँ पे क्या चीज आएगी, उसका पूरा डिजाइन करके अप्रूवल लेके फिर उसको बिल्ड करना. एंड जनरल कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग मीन्स थिंग्स लाइक योर सिविल, मैकेनिकल, इलेक्ट्रिकल, ऑल ऑफ दोज सॉर्ट्स works, and has been doing that for quite some time. Like the promoter family is a generational family of doing this. The promoter's dad was doing it for 50 years. Now the promoter has been doing it for the last 20 years, and they involve themselves in like any sort of think of corporate and commercial space which needs to be built out. Then the interiors of that is done by Elegance Interiors. I'll talk about one such company which had came up, similar company which was projecting to be that Lemosec. वो भी ऐसी कर रही थी कि हम सब जगह ये लगा देते हैं, फ्लैश डोर्स लगा देते हैं, बट इट वाज वेरी डिफरेंट. दिस वन, इसका आरएचपी आप पढ़ोगे, वेरी डिटेल, वेरी नाइसली रिटन आरएचपी. एवरीथिंग इज क्लियर इन टर्म्स ऑफ हाउ दे डू द इन्वॉल्वमेंट, व्हाट इज देयर ऑर्डर बुक लाइक. सो आई रियली लाइक द आरएचपी क्वालिटी पर से. एंड अगेन एज आई वाज सेइंग कि उनके कुछ कोड्स डिटरमाइन हो जाते हैं स्टैंडर्ड शुरुआत में, और फिर उन स्पेसिफिकेशंस ड्राइंग्स के हिसाब से ये बिल ऑफ क्वांटिटीज बीओक्यू करते जाते हैं. एंड इन द लास्ट 3 years दे हैव डन लाइक ओवर 200 प्रोजेक्ट्स विद ओवर 45 लाख स्क्वायर फीट एरिया ऑफ डेवलपमेंट. इनका ऑर्डर बुक भी अच्छा पड़ा हुआ है. लाइक देयर करंट ऑर्डर बुक इज समवेयर अराउंड 435 CR and 40 lakh square feet of development across 12 cities. Majorly Maharashtra and Karnataka based player. Maharashtra से इनका मेन काम आता है और बैंगलोर से काम आता है. And that is where they have built a few buildings around your LEED certifications, etc., which is your green energy वाली जो certifications होती है. So again, the work is good. And if I talk about how they like design and build से इनका around 30% of business आता है in FY25 जो है, तो इसमें जब मैं फाइनेंशियल्स की बात करूंगा तब इस पे आता हूँ, बट इनका फाइनेंशियल्स अचानक से देयर इज अ जंप इन FY25. बट अदरवाइज लाइक इफ आई टॉक अबाउट FY24 फाइनेंशियल, मोस्ट ऑफ देयर बिजनेस इज फ्रॉम जनरल कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग. डिजाइन एंड बिल्ड इज मिन्यूस्क्यूल. थ्रू आउट द इयर्स डिजाइन एंड बिल्ड contributes like 15%, and general contracting contributes like 80 to 85% of the business, and they have architects in-house who are able to then work and do this. They also have a in-house facility of flush doors etc. जो वो बनाते हैं वो भी इनकी in-house ही है ताकि they are able to use those woodworking etc. and make these areas. और इनके clients भी काफी diverse हैं, like 20% IT, 20% architectural, 10% banking, 20% real estate. So very good diversified company that way per se. अभी जैसा मैंने बताया ये अभी 47 प्रोजेक्ट्स ऑनगोइंग अभी कर रहे हैं जिनकी प्रोजेक्ट वैल्यू इज अराउंड 705 crores. So they have a huge order book ongoing as well as for the future. And in fact, promoter ने ये भी बोला कि during FY22-23 it had reduced a bit, which is now picked up as well. Most of their contracts are fixed rate contracts, which is a risk. क्योंकि दो प्रकार के कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होते हैं, या तो तुम बोलो फिक्स रेट या तो तुम बोलो टीएनएम, टाइम एंड मटेरियल की जितना भी लगा उस पर मैं एक सरचार्ज मारूंगा और उसको लूंगा. बट दे वर्क ऑन फिक्स रेट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वेयर दे बिड कि भाई इस चीज के इतने पैसे लगेंगे. सो यू देन नीड टू account for all inventories etc. When you are doing that, and 80% of their contracts are directly, only 20% through subcontractors. So which is also good because that just tells you that they have a very good brand image. And in fact मैं YouTube पे थोड़े बहुत पुराने videos देख रहा था. So like 5 years ago there was a video by the promoter where he was talking about green energy and it being a like he was involved in a panel discussion. So it just shows that this person has been in this work for quite some period of time. And इनके projects भी आप देखोगे, so they've done good work per se. Like 50 करोड़ का एक प्रोजेक्ट इन्होंने रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी कंपनी के लिए अहमदाबाद में किया, 42 करोड़ का इंजीनियरिंग कंपनी में किया हुआ है. सो देव डन गुड वर्क पर से, सो विच इज गुड. एंड अगर मैं लाइक कैपेसिटी इसके इतने ज्यादा बात करने की जरूरत नहीं है, बट दे ऑल्सो गिवन देयर कैपेसिटी की फ्लैश डोर्स वगैरह बनाने की जो कैपेसिटी इज, दे आर राइट नाउ ऑपरेटिंग एट फुल कैपेसिटी. बट आई डोंट थिंक दैट शुड असेंशली change anything because they should be able to increase their capacity as and when required. और उसके अलावा they have a like good size of employees as well. Like they have some 70 employees on permanent basis, and then they have a contract employees of labors of around 700 in number. So good number of people who are on the books per se as well. इसके बाद what else did I see? अब फाइनेंशियल्स की बात करते हैं. सो इफ आई टॉक अबाउट द फाइनेंशियल्स, द कंपनी डिड 155 crores of revenue in FY22, which has increased to 191 crores in FY23 and has went up to 223 crores in FY24. एंड फिर इस H1 में उन्होंने अराउंड 192 crores ऑलरेडी कर लिया है फर्स्ट हाफ में. सो अ वेरी हाई jump per se, but I feel it is okay because they have the order book, so they should be able to execute on that. It looks although slightly fishy कि जैसे आप देखोगे कि इनने 155 crores पूरे FY22 में किया था, मतलब FY23 में जो पूरा काम किया था वो H1 में कर दिया. उसमें एक तो रीजन ये है कि इन्हें डिजाइन एंड बिल्ड पे थोड़ा ज्यादा इस बार उनका मार्जिन आया, अराउंड 30% has came from it which earlier didn't come per se. So earlier it was a lot like a contractor. Right now it's also डिजाइनिंग वगैरह वाले जो आईपी वगैरह लगते हैं उसमें भी दे आर एबल टू मेक सम मनी फ्रॉम दैट. बट हैविंग सेड दैट, इन लाइक FY24 दे डिड 223 crores जिसपे इनका पैट आया अराउंड 12%, 5% मार्जिन. और इस साल में भी उनका पैट 192 crores का रेवेन्यू आया जिसपे इनका पैट आया 9.5 crores, अगेन 5% मार्जिन. सो इट्स मेजरली अ 5% बिजनेस. बट इफ यू आर इन्वेस्टिंग इन दिस बिजनेस देन यू आर इन्वेस्टिंग इन द पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू की ऑर्डर बुक है, प्रमोटर्स अच्छे हैं, इट्स अ क्लीन बिजनेस कंपेयर टू सम ऑफ द अदर सब कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग बिजनेसेस जहाँ पे पैसा फंसता है. यहाँ पे तुम्हारे क्लाइंट्स थोड़े से फॉर द लैक ऑफ अ बेटर वर्ड व्हाइट कॉलर है, तो इसलिए पैसा फंसना कंपैरेटिवली कम चाहिए. इन टर्म्स ऑफ पी, अगर मैं पी की बात करूँ FY24 के अर्निंग्स के हिसाब से 24 पी पे आ रहा है. और अगर मैं TTM टाइप अगर निकाल लूं 6 महीने इस बार का ले लूं और पिछले का हाफ कर दूं बिकॉज आई डोंट नो व्हाट द नंबर वाज, देन इट्स कमिंग एट लाइक समवेयर अराउंड 20 पी, व्हिच इज व्हाट आई थिंक इट शुड बी वैल्यूड एट, व्हिच आई थिंक like is what a P you will give it if it was a complete like if it was any other player per se. But अगर आप इसका थोड़ा बहुत legacy देख लोगे plus they have been in market for so long, you will probably give it a slight more multiple. So there's some upside listing, but again those are not crazy. Like a lot of it is already covered in terms of like just what they have priced So I would have been a lot more happier if this was priced slightly lower, let's say at a 15p sort of on FY24 basis. But again, it is what it is. So at this value, at IPO price, I think it's apply, but I would be very wary of chasing it beyond a certain number, like a 25-30% per se. In terms of like, अगर मैं इनकी working capital calculations करूं, by the way, so they are saying they'll grow very fast. Like FY26, they have projected they'll grow by 60%. So if they are able to do that, then you're looking at somewhere like a 20 CR PAT number, and at that number, then it suddenly starts looking at like, let's say, 15p. But that is with respect to the business. In terms of the anchor book was decent, 15 different anchors. So the business definitely had a lot of like interest from different people. So should be good. I am fairly constructive at IPO price. That is what my review is on Eleganz. Any of you guys have anything to add, or we can probably move forward to the third company?
No point of view, man. Haven't studied it.
You don't need to study now. I've given you a very high level summary.
Mota, the multiples do seem high. I know they're projecting a lot of growth, but it does seem that expensive, this market.
Yeah, it has came in expensive. It's a Wipro issue. Maybe that. So short term में हो सकता है कुछ हो, but I think I would be very wary of chasing it beyond the 25-30%.
सर एलिगेंस की बात हो रही है ना? हाँ, मतलब सर आई स्टडीड द कंपनी, मतलब आई वुड से रेयर इश्यूज जहाँ पे इम्प्रूवमेंट इन मार्जिन वैसे कोई चीजें दिख नहीं रही है. मुझे तो क्लीन लगी ओवरऑल कंपनी. आई वुड से कि 30-40% तो अपसाइड है. व्हाट आई फील इज.
Got it. Maybe with that we can move forward to the next company. Tanmay, can you say something? I just want to make sure that you are in, like, your आपका आवाज break हो रहा था, so I can move to a third Rohit's company if your voice is not clear, and then come back to your. I just want to see.
Is my voice clear?
Yeah, it is clear. So okay, the next company we'll talk about is Ajax Engineering.
We'll go ahead.
The company manufactures a wide range of concrete equipment, services, and solutions across the concrete application value chain. It's a market leader in SLCM, which stands for like self-loading concrete mixtures जो market है. उसमें Ajax Engineering is a market leader. So it's a very interesting IPO which is coming, Mainboard IPO. Just setting up the IPO, it's a 1270 crore IPO, all of which is a OFS, i.e. no growth capital is being raised by the company. Promoters are taking a exit from it. In terms of the market cap it is coming at is 7,200 crores. So the promoters are diluting like 1/6 of the company, 1,200 crores at 7,200 crores market cap. So 16% type का dilute कर रहे हैं. In terms of FY24 financials, revenue company ने जो किया था वो था 1780 crores, 1780 crores, and PAT was 225 crores. So 225 crores के PAT पे they are coming at a market cap of 7,200 crores. So at a very high rough calculation, it's like 30p. FY24, FY25 पे आते हैं. In terms of the LMs are ICICI, Citigroup, JM, Nuvama, SBI Capital. काफी सारे LM लेके आई है company. So Tanmay, do you want to go ahead and talk about Ajax Engineering?
Is my voice clear?
Yeah.
So Ajax Engineering Limited is India's largest and one of the world's top 3 self-loading concrete mixers manufacturer, which is also called as SLCM. Okay. And it also has a diverse non-SLCM portfolio, which includes batching plants, transit mixers, boom pumps, concrete pumps, slip form pavers, self-propelled boom pumps, and 3D concrete printers. Okay, so this company is the pioneer in SLCM in India. They started the business in like 1992, but they started the commercial business operations in 2008. Okay, and this category got created in India at let's say 2013, 2014 kind of. So they are pioneering creating that category. And they have also started a new thing called as 3D concrete printers. They are the only and first company to bring this technology in India, and one of the very few in Asia. So the company has market share of 77% in India in H1. Okay, in overall SLCM industry. The company has 51 dealers in 23 states and 5 union territories, 114 touch points, 29 branches, and 34 service centers. In FY24, they sold roughly 4,600 SLCMs. Okay. if you check out the industry, the SLCM industry in India is expected to grow at 18 to 19% CAGR till FY29. Means like one of the most robustly grown industry in the overall infra and concrete kind of cap good space. 18% CAGR for industry as a whole is considered to be very good. Okay, the company is raising 1,269 crores completely an OFS. Okay. In the OFS, Kedara Capital, which is their investor, they are diluting almost 6% and they are exiting the business completely, and the rest is diluted by the promoters. Okay. Kedara Capital is the same which owns Vishal Megamart, whose listing IPO happened very recently. So they are making almost, I guess, 70-80% gains in 4.5 years. Okay, and one more thing was the company also included secondary placement post filing, 1 day post filing the RHP of 170 crores. So the total raise can be 1,440 crores. That 170 crore was allocated to SBI Children's SBI Magnum Children's Fund and SBI Infrastructure Fund. Okay. Post holding, the promoter holding will post issue the promoter holding will stand at 80%. I will come to its financials. In FY23, the company did a revenue of 1,151 crores and a profit after tax of 136 crores. In FY24, the revenue jumped by almost 30%. Sorry, not 30%, almost 50% to 1,741 crores, and PAT jumped to 225 crores. Okay. In H1, the company has already done 770 crores top line and 101 crore bottom line. Now, if you check on the management commentary, the company has clearly said that and even in the RHP, the company derives almost 35-36% revenue in H1 and 64-65% in H2. So if I just extrapolate these numbers, FY25 at a lower end comes at 2150 crore revenue and PAT of roughly 280 crores, considering margins the very same, and I feel they will get that 20-30 basis point improvement, but taking the base case, it should come at roughly 280 crores kind of. The company's IPO is offered at 7196 crore, 7200 crore roughly market cap. On FY25, the company is bringing its IPO at 25.7 times. Okay. Now, in this whole space, if you just check out the RHP, they have shown their peers like Action Construction Equipment Ace, one is BEML and one is Escorts. Okay. Now, all these three have a very, very small, I would say mid to low single digit revenues of SLCM. Okay. And Escorts is trading 25 times FY25. That is the reason is due to the low growth. Okay. Action Construction is trading at roughly 35 or 38 times FY25. Okay. And BEML it's trading at some very high valuation because they are struggling with some bottom line effect, and they are also that is a different story. So overall, the company doesn't have a direct peer. And one more thing we can say कि 77% market से लेके बैठे तो कोई peer ढूंढना भी मुश्किल हो जाएगा. Okay. JCB India, which is also a $1.5 billion doing revenue doing company, is also one of their competitor, but I guess they own some mid single digit kind of market share in it. So they are also not a major competitor. Now, there was a question around this IPO, why the IPO is completely an OFS and no fresh issue raise. Okay. On this, I'll give some clarification. The company has almost 750 to 800 crore of cash balance with them. Okay. And the company is has in last 2 years has generated almost 450 crore cash, and this year they will generate close to 250-300 crores. So the company is very good cash flow machine, and they don't need any kind of funds like whatever they are completely debt free company, not a single rupee of debt on their books. Okay. And they don't need money at all to run the business. They have decent bank balances. There was one small concern regarding the capacity utilization. It was like roughly what I remember is 91% kind of. So the company is already doing a capex of 35 crores, which will be a fungible capacity between their non-SLCM portfolio, and that is I guess yet will get operational in mid H1 of next financial year. मतलब अभी एक समझ के चलो August around में operational होना चाहिए. They have already started doing a capex of 50 crore that will increase their capacity by a good margin. They have not given the percentage. So on the this litigations part, the company's promoters has nothing, no major litigations, okay, with them. And on the company, there are small tax litigations. If I just combine all the amount, it is at 1.44 crores. So you can say one thing, ki after a long time, we are getting a company which has no criminal, legal, tax litigations on the promoters on the company. I won't say completely nil, but what are there that are very small and negligible, and 2016, 2014 kind of matter. So after a long time, we are getting a company with zero legal issues pending behind. Okay, at least from considering last 10-15 IPOs, at least at the main board level. Okay, now if I check out on the market share, and I'll just present a data point. Okay, so I feel this is a good data point to work with. Okay, so India's per capita consumption of cement stands at 195 kg. Okay, which is one of the lowest globally. Okay, world's average is 520 kilograms. Okay, consumption of cement per capita. Per capita, and China has almost 980 kilograms. Okay, now if I just extrapolate this number, the growth rate of the RMC and cement, concrete is expected to be very robust and one of the highest globally in India. And the automation industry in India is also expected to grow at roughly 14 to 16%, in which SLCM will have one of the largest growth, which is almost 18 to 19%. So we are getting a company which is actually, in few reports, Ajax is world's largest company, but as there are no fixed, what we can say, the rating, the agencies have not covered this. So they have claimed that we are one of the world's top three. Okay. But if I talk on a few unverified report, they are world's number one company. So you are getting a company with solid cash flows, with a good management, with solid corporate governance, and a very robustly growing segment. मतलब यार, I would say one thing कि बहुत दिनों बाद ऐसा कोई आईपीओ आया है जहां पे मुझे कोई भी रेड फ्लैग न दिखा हो, और मैंने इसमें क्यों नहीं अप्लाई करना चाहिए इसका मुझे एक भी रीजन नहीं मिला. एंड वेरी क्रिस्टल क्लियर क्लीन कंपनी, ढूंढ के भी कोई निगेटिव मुझे नहीं मिला. आई वुड से इट्स अ ब्लाइंड अप्लाई. मतलब आई डोंट हैव टू थिंक ट्वाइस बिफोर अप्लाइंग इट. मतलब मार्केट्स का, इफ इवन इफ दी sentiments get negative, I don't feel this is going to disappoint. And the backing of Kedara Group also increased the confidence because their portfolio companies have done extremely well. And Vishal's listing was a good example of it. Anchor book was very good. We saw very few names, good names like SBI, Axis Mutual Fund, HSBC, some good FIs. Okay. And there was one interesting thing was Azim Premji's PI Opportunity Fund also invested in it, which is actually a rare scenario, but some of their recently listed companies portfolio has done very well. They have invested in 3 companies before Ajax, but not in Anchor book. They have taken it post IPO. The 3 were KRN Hit Exchanger Limited, which was very recent one. One was this Global Health Medanta Hospitals, which has also tripled. And the third one was, let me check. Actually, I have the list. The third one was also there. Give me a minute.
In the meanwhile, maybe
Third one was office space solutions था. Okay, तो ये इनका था. And some more good funds like Lighthouse Canton, Unify Capital, Brinker, Amundi, HSBC, Pictet Group. मतलब this was also good. One was Al Mehwar Commercial. That was also good anchor. So overall यार, मतलब proper green signal है. मतलब I cannot, I'll go full force into it without a second thought. I don't feel this is going to disappoint.
got it, Tanmay.
Extremely clean kind of company.
Thanks, Tanmay. Couple of questions from my end. One, so if I get it right, वो जो concrete mixer होते हैं जो अभी काफी informal segment है, जो वो mix होता है जिसमें concrete, this is more of a formal version of that where they have a self-loading concrete mixture, right? So I think when you're talking about 77% market share, that would be of the formal segment. So there's still a huge informal segment which needs to be tapped into, right? Because from what I've seen, mostly construction में ना वो informal वो जो concrete mixer लगा होता है, which is not of any company from what I know, is my first question. Is that right? Second thing, when you say SLCM, do they make the whole truck and the body and car? Like ऐसे पूरी व्हीकल बनाने वाली कंपनी है, फिर वो पीछे का अपैरेटस बनाती है और बाकी कोई और बनाता है वैसे? इफ यू कैन हेल्प मी विद दोस टू
Sir, I'll first answer the second question.
पार्ट.
It's an end-to-end manufacturer. Boss 1992 company है कुछ भी. I would say if I just break down on the components, majority components are in-house made. They have solid capabilities. I'll come on the first part. Now, sir, on this, we can have a small debate, but I would give a one data, not data point, but we can put a point here that the exchange value of like if you the exchange value post usage of the machinery 3 to 5 years or even 7 years, the exchange value of Ajax Engineering's SLCM is highest in the industry and almost double the second player. Okay, this is data given in the RHP, not I have read somewhere, so it's in the RHP. Almost double the second player, and this is the exchange value. So from this you can judge ki what quality product they are making, and if you are buying something and the informal segment at maybe 20, 30, 40% lower price, I'm not very sure ki price ka kya difference hai, because I'm not from that industry, but the exchange value is also something nowadays good contractors, good companies, good
नहीं नहीं,
what you can say
उसमें उसमें मैं बताता हूँ. सो फ्रॉम माय अंडरस्टैंडिंग, अगेन कैन बी रॉन्ग, बट फ्रॉम माय अंडरस्टैंडिंग वो सेल्फ लोडिंग नहीं होती, उसमें वो करते रहते हैं मिक्स बैठ के, फिर उसको लेबर लगती है बहुत ज्यादा. दिस इज सेल्फ लोडिंग की कंक्रीट मिक्स खुद ही मिक्स हो जाता होगा, मशीन चल जाती होगी पीछे. सो इट्स लाइक अ मोर ऑटोमेटेड वर्जन, सो शुड बी अ लॉट मोर चीपर एफिशिएंट, बट इट्स जस्ट दैट labor is plenty in India, so people tend to do it with what they are doing. So maybe formal जैसे जैसे होगा, so this will start picking up over time, I feel.
Yes, sir. And the growth CAGR of the automation is twice the RMC growth, and the SLCM as a whole is thrice the concrete. मतलब जो आपका automation का industry that is growing twice, and the SLCM is growing thrice. So if what we can say कि India is now on the verge of this very early phase of automation of this RMC thing. Okay, and if you can just check out कि कितने this SLCMs have been sold till India in till 2021 and 2022 से कितना हुआ है?
एक बात बता, अगर RMC यूज कर लूं मैं, तो जरूरत ही नहीं है कंक्रीट मिक्सर की, राइट? इफ आई एम यूजिंग अ रेडी मिक्स कंक्रीट, देन आई डोंट नीड ऑल ऑफ दिस, राइट? लाइक आई कैन जस्ट यूज द रेडी मिक्स कंक्रीट. Then this
Sir,
key, I don't know, maybe that's a question which we should.
no. That is not, that actually a fundamentally wrong question. But I'll just tell one data point ki from 2022 to 2025 H1, I guess almost in India, I would say almost 13 to 14,000 SLCMs are sold. Okay, and till from 2011 to 2021, the total sale was less than 10,000, and this is the data point. Okay, just understand कि 11 से 21 तक क्या हुआ, 22 से 25 के first half तक क्या हुआ है. So what I'm trying to say, not talking on the company, but I'm saying this overall segment in India has just started to pick up. And last year it has grown like I guess 50-60% CAGR whole in this SLCM industry, not just company. Company also done almost 50-60%.
Got it. My second question, you said कि कंपनी OFS इसलिए कर रही है क्योंकि उनके पास ऑलरेडी कैश है. If कैश है तो why is the capacity already at 94%? Like have they announced a new capex or they still yet to
Yes,
announce
they
a
have
new
announced
capex?
August September में their non-SLCM portfolios capex is going to kick in, and in the first half of next financial year आपका और 50-55 करोड़ का नया capex आ रहा है. That is also going to kick in.
Got it.
They have announced it formally.
Got it. One last question from my end. Sorry if you spoke about it, but what valuation do you think it's coming at, and what would probably do you think a market can value it at? Like how are you reading into the valuation part?
Valuation part. Okay. See, now we are already into February, so talking on FY24, I feel is not appropriate. On FY25, it is valued at 1 minute. It is valued at 25.7 times, okay? And on FY26, roughly 20-21 times. So I would say ki, the peers which are not even close to us, ACE is a different league company due to the growth, but even you can compare it with ACE because that is in its segment and this is in a different segment, but both are growing at that pace. Yes, ACE will continue to grow at that good CAGR growth, and this company or the guidance also the company has given an indirect guidance formally. They're saying SLCM will grow at 15 to 16%, and non-SLCM portfolio will grow at 21%. Okay, मतलब 500 to 600, 20-21% का growth है. मतलब if I extrapolate this, 18% growth company is almost targeting, 18.5% something, and Ace might grow a bit more at 20-25% kind of. तो and BML and Escorts are nowhere actually. मतलब यार इन्होंने ना, and I'll give you one more point here कि their IPO was expected at 9,200 crore valuation. It was a 1950 crore IPO at 9,200 crore IPO. Okay, valuation. But now they are coming at 7,200. So I feel कि यार 9,200 तो इसका benchmark बनता है at least. So ओवरऑल आई फील कि इसमें मिड टू लॉन्ग टर्म में 50% का इन्होंने जगह रखा है, इफ आई जस्ट थिंक फ्रॉम आई बैंकर काइंड ऑफ अ पर्सपेक्टिव. तो और एज एन म्यूचुअल फंड काइंड ऑफ एन पर्सपेक्टिव, तो दे हैव left good value on the table.
Got it. One last question. In the interest of time, before I go to Rohit for his opinion, any export they do, or is it mostly import, like used within India itself?
No, they also have a export. Okay, I guess it's at this point 93% domestic and 7% export. But they're expecting कि we will, I guess, close this financial at I guess 10% plus export, and next financial should be 15% plus. So they also have a good export strategy. जहाँ पे हाँ margins भी ज़्यादा है, by the way. So हाँ, but as of now, it would be foolish to talk on margins. But yes, overall तो सब ठीक है. They have said कि यहाँ पर export भी बढ़ेगा धीरे धीरे.
Got it. Over to you, Rohit, for any of your opinions. We are running slightly short on time. So,
no, nothing much to add. I think this will be interesting to see if this GMP stays at the 7-8%. Hopefully subscriptions will be low. I think that's the only thing I'm hoping for.
Quite a rare scene where you don't have a lot of opinion on a lot of issues. Good to see.
You just said we're running short of time.
Okay, maybe with that we'll move forward. Although there are still some questions here and there and opinions, all of them well taken. We'll see how Ajax does. We have given our point of view, clarified a few questions, but we'll now move forward and talk about a SME which is coming, which is Chandan Healthcare. The company runs diagnostic centers in North India with pathology and radiology testing services. It has one flagship lab, 7 central labs, and 26 satellite centers with over 300 collection centers across UP and Uttarakhand. Abhi Kolkata based diagnostic center aaya tha, I think Suraksha Diagnostics. So this seems like a comparable peer, but in SME. Huge market cap difference. We'll come to that. But just setting up the IPO, it's 107 crores IPO, out of which 70 CR is a fresh issue, 37 CR promoters taking a part exit. So only 70 CR of growth capital per se. In terms of the market cap, it's coming at 390 crores of market cap, diluting 107 crores. So what they need to dilute like 27-28%. In terms of FY24 financials, they had done 180 crores of revenue and 16.5 crores of PAT. So if I talk about 16.5, 389, so coming at again like 25 PE. 25 PE FY24, because again अभी क्या है 11 महीने हो गए, right? We are already like at the verge of FY25. So almost norm is people come at like that year's 15, something like that. So it still seems like high when you look at like, let's say 25 PE FY24. But yeah, that's the PE at which it's coming at. In terms of the LM is Unistone Capital. So with that, Rohit, do you want to go ahead and talk about Chandan Healthcare?
I'll cover this. I'll just add one or mention one thing up front. I think that 24P is not super relevant. Anyway, these guys are given 9 months of data. So the P is much lower, even if you make some assumptions. So I'll cover this company. I found it very interesting. And this could be an interesting one for people to apply. So what they do is they, as Manish was saying, they run a diagnostic network, focused in North India, mainly in Uttaranchal and Uttar Pradesh, with this pathology. So 2 types, with pathology and radiology, which is basically the two big parts of the diagnostic segment. They have one flagship lab, which is the sort of main thing where they have the, high end sort of equipment. Then they follow this hub and spoke kind of model. They'll then have these central labs, which is sort of the next tier. They have 9 of them. Then they have another 27 satellite centers, and they have about 300 collection centers across UP and Uttarakhand. That makes up almost 98-99% of their revenue. This diagnostic piece, just so I clarify this upfront, is actually only 55% of their revenue. They also have a chain of pharmacies via its subsidiary company, which they own 53% of, which contributes to another 45% of the revenue. And I'll come to that a little bit later, just on the importance or the relevance of that. But actually, even though it's coming as a diagnostic business, actually only 55% of that top line is from this diagnostic business. So diagnostics in general as a segment is split in two ways. You split it into pathology, which is largely these very simple tests, urine or blood or, tissue samples, that kind of stuff, the basic stuff that has very, very low entry barriers. And the second is radiology. Radiology, again, depends on the extent of radiology that people do, but this is your X-ray, CT scan, MRI, and, you can get into very, very high-end equipment and machinery as well, for radiology. But radiology is where there is a little bit more entry barrier, there is higher capex. And today about 70% of their business in the diagnostic segment is pathology, 30% is radiology. The other thing that is really important in diagnostic is the split between their B2C business and their B2B business. And that kind of, I would say, pegs the valuation that you give to a company depending on the level of B2C, B2B, and B2G, which is usually a subset of this B2B, is just how much comes from the government. And I'll explain that shortly. So today for this business, about 35% of their revenue is B2C, which is just customers walking in. The remaining 65% is B2B. Of that, one thing that's very important is 35% of the 65%, which is like more than half of that 65%, comes just from Chandan Hospitals, which is their own entity, the promoter's sort of hospital chain. Essentially, it's a group company for which these guys provide the diagnostics arm for that. So you can think of it as a customer gets billed by the hospital to do diagnostics in the hospital, and then the hospital will pay the diagnostics later. So it's like a B2B business. So it'll have its own receivable cycle and so on. Of the remaining, so of that 65, 35 is coming from this Chandan Hospitals alone. Of the rest, most of that is B2G, which is where you tie up with, say, a state. For example, they have tied up with the Uttaranchal state, where they would provide free diagnostic services to the state's population. This essentially allows residents of the state to access all these diagnostic tests at no cost. And this will be super subsidized because you're getting kind of bulk rate from the government. This will be at much, much lower. The cost per test will be much lower since it's coming through the government. So there is one company, public company that does almost 100%, whose entire model is this, Krishna Diagnostics. They're completely a B2G business. Again, I'll come to this later when I talk about the valuation, but it's just important to know that of their business, 35% is B2C, 65% is B2B. Of that, half of that is just from the Chandan Hospitals alone, and then the remaining, most of it is from the government. So just keep this in mind. They're raising the funds, 70 crore is coming to the company. Most of that is to set up one more flagship center and 2 central labs, both of which will come live, or all of these will come live only after 1.5 years. So there is some time. The numbers are very, very solid. They did 175 crore plus last year. That much they've almost done fully in just 9 months of this year. So they should be on track to do about 220 crore top line with a 21 crore PAT. Their balance sheet cash flows are a little bit up and down, but at least in the 9-month period, the cash flows are pretty good. I think we'll have to see this full year numbers to just get a sense. I think that's mostly because of some sudden spike in payable, sudden drop in payables, sudden spike in it seems a little upper niche there, but this year so far is looking a lot better. So one important thing here is that I think I mentioned this, the subsidiary, the pharma business, that financials are also rolled up into the financials of this company. So if you see about of that 170, 180 crore, 100 crore is coming from this diagnostic business, but 80 crore is coming from that pharma business. So the way this impacts is if you look at their overall P&L of that 180 crore, they operate at around a 15% EBITDA overall, which actually looks a bit low because most diagnostic chains operate at least 25%, sometimes 30% kind of EBITDA range. This 15% is misleading. If you were to double click on their P&L, you'll get a sense that the pharma subsidiary's contribution to revenue is high. Margin is very low. In this year so far, it's hardly 2.5 crore on their overall 16, 17 crore that they've done in the 9 months. So the EBITDA of just their, the diagnostic business is healthy. It is, if you back calculate, you will say, okay, it is again the 25, 26%. So there is no concern that their EBITDA margins are low compared to other diagnostic chains. That's not true. In terms of valuations, this company is coming at a TTMP, given they have 9 months of data. It's coming at TTMP of 19 times. And if you take FY25, it's coming at 17 times. And on an EV EBITDA basis, which is generally how the segment gets valued, it is coming at just 11.5 times on a TTM basis. This is by far the cheapest I have seen in this segment. Every mainboard peer will trade bare minimum at 20 times, go up to 35 times. I'm talking about EBITDA, and they trade at between 40 to 80, 90x on a PE basis. PE is not that relevant, especially when you're setting up a lot of new, even these guys, for example, their PE will go down as they open up some of their newer diagnostic chains because the depreciation component will start coming in. But simply on an EBITDA basis, everyone trades at least 20 times, 22, 23 times, goes up to 30, 35 times also. The lowest valued peer is Krishna, which is a 100% B2G business. B2G has a lot of other issues. It has poor cash conversion, very high receivables. Even that trades at 16, 17 times and on EBITDA and 40 times on PE multiple. This business, only 1/3 of the business you can say is from, or less than 1/3, 30% of the business is B2G. So I personally feel there is a lot of scope left just in terms of fair valuations between this and all the other peers in this segment. The growth is also solid. Without any funds, they're growing at 25% or so consistently. Even last year is around 25%. One thing that was missing was the problem with RHPs is you often only tell what you're going to use the very specific money you're raising. Let's say there is some growth you're planning through your own cash and accruals and so on. That doesn't always come very clearly in the RHP. Here in this one, you can see what they're doing with the money that's being raised, which is they're setting up one flagship center and whatever other two central labs. But we don't know what else they're doing to grow this business. And I could not find any interviews with the management to understand their growth plan. This is something I've really wished that this Unistone had done something and allowed, the more normal retail investor to also understand exactly what this business is trying to do. The anchor book is very strong. Again, has almost 25% of the anchor. Even Nivesha is there. These are very good SME investors. I personally like the biz quite a bit. It's a very unique play in SME. It's a reasonably large issue, 100 crore plus. Even if it were to get a Krishna kind of valuation, that's like a 30-40% up. I know SMEs are getting, struggling with liquidity, and you never know how soon it'll reach there. But I think just based on fundamentals, just based on whatever information we have, this company is objectively cheap. So I am hoping this thing can buck the trend despite the size and actually give some kind of listing pop, or at least move post listing. So I'm going to apply for this. I like this business, very unique, one of a kind in SME. I've not seen any other diagnostic play in SME. Very solid margins. Looks like a very capable set of management, given that they also have like a specialty hospital chain running pharmacies. Obviously, it's more of a tier 2, tier 3 story, but I found it very, very interesting. So I am quite excited about this and I intend to apply full force.
Got it. Couple of questions, Rohit. So at top of mind, आपने बोला 45% is pharmacy. So उसका EBITDA level पे contribution बहुत कम है. So when you are saying 11.5, you are assuming कि उसका EBITDA तो बहुत ज़्यादा आ ही नहीं रहा है, वो revenue में ही show up कर रहा है pharmacy. Is that true? Or if you only look at, let's say, diagnostics and ignore the pharmacy for some moment, okay, because just a trading business at top of my head. How do you look the EV EBITDA multiple if you have to only look at the diagnostic player? And second question, क्योंकि इसमें ना एक कीमन रिस्क है, क्योंकि जैसे कृष्णा डायग्नोस्टिक्स भी, बट एटलीस्ट इट्स अ वेल कॉर्पोरेट सेटअप लैब जिसके 20-25 सेंटर्स हैं इधर उधर है. यहाँ पे बिकॉज आई वाज आल्सो लुकिंग एट द वेबसाइट, इट सीम लाइक वन की पर्सन हु इज मैनेजिंग दैट चंदन ग्रुप ऑफ हॉस्पिटल्स, लिव्स इन चंदन नगर, हैज चंदन medicines, etc. So everything is very linked to each other. So does that give it does that increase the risk multiple, risk premium per se?
So on the second one, see, the problem with SMEs is you're almost always going to have something like this. You'll either have key man risk or you'll have a key family risk. No SME is going to have, or very rare to see an SME that at least comes for the IPO. Maybe with the IPO funds, they might build a team and so on. But when they're coming for the IPO, they're almost always going to be very inextricably linked to one person or one family or 1-2 people. So that I'm not that stressed. I think SME to mein wo to risk to hai. The question
my question is more from the angle, like you will always see SME hospitals chains don't typically do well. Like you will see a lot of mainboard corporate hospitals doing well on the market simply because they are corporate run hospitals. So when these transitions happen from one doctor family to opening another chain, that typically is a hit or miss. So do you think that also applies here on the diagnostics side, although it shouldn't, because this is more of a, I don't know how to call it, like this is more replicable business per se, and diagnostics, etc. is a lot more replicable than opening a hospital which just runs on the name of the doctor if it's a tier 2, tier 3 hospital per se. Sorry if I cut you.
Yeah, no, I think that what you're saying kind of answered the question. See, diagnostics is a much more, in a sense, it is a pseudo commoditized, it's a much more commoditized business. It is not running on a star doctor, like you said, right? I mean, ultimately, you need to have the funds, capacity, and the ability to hire a few radiologists, which is where the techniques in a diagnostic business comes. But if you're able to do that, then it's about building that brand. Chandan Diagnostics is, say, very well recognized in UP, in Lucknow, Haldwani, whatever, all of these places where they're present. So it's not the same in my view as building a hospital. Plus, they actually have almost 300 collection centers, 27, 28 labs across the region that they are. So they're definitely a regional player, but they are not a one-trick pony. They have just one hospital, and opening the second hospital is a big challenge. They have 300 places from which they're collecting. So their customer touch points are much more than any normal hospital. So I don't see that as a risk. There is a execution key man risk, but not a, business key man risk in that sense. It's not dependent on Mr. Chandan or Dr. Chandan, executing for the diagnostic center to work. So I hope, I'm not too stressed about that. On the margin one, I think, so I would say if I were to subtract pretend that the pharma business was giving 0, then that 11.5x would be closer to 12.5, mota. It doesn't impact much because the PAT margin of the pharma business, if you were to back calculate, is around 3%. So you can say the EBITDA margin is like 5%. So it doesn't move the needle much. If it's firstly, it's not probably right to just make it 0 because that is earnings that is coming to the bottom line. But just saying, my point was more that the diagnostic business is at very healthy margins. It just, on a blended level, it looks like, it's a diagnostic chain that's coming at 15% EBITDA. That's not true. It is a diagnostic business coming at 25% EBITDA and a pharma business coming at 5-6% EBITDA. So the diagnostic business is healthy, and that's what contributes to 85-90% of the margins of the entity that is coming public.
Got it. That's helpful. Very well researched review. But I still feel that just understanding what more do they want to do with the business. So any interview of that sort would have been very helpful. But I am also going to take a punt and then see how it goes. I'm hoping big size IPO segment not doing well, so should be able to get some allocation. Although all of these will come together, right? Like I've only taken IPOs till 12, so all of them we'll have to choose, right? So we'll have to see what who we want to target.
I think, if you're applying on Monday, you can again apply on Wednesday. So that's if you're applying for, say, Solarium, you can apply for Chandan Healthcare with the same funds. Anyway, I don't think any of these are going to be subscribed so heavily that, if you have some capital, you should be able to get assured allotments in probably all of these.
But can't go Eleganz and then Chandan, right? Need to choose between
Elegance will be an option, but yes. Elegance will probably be the, what was this one that just came? Chamunda. Because it has a GMP to subscribe 2,000 times. So whatever the equivalent of that, given it's a larger issue.
And Ajax is also on 12th. Okay, I've made my mind. Elegance and then Ajax and your Chandan. We'll have to unfortunately say sorry to ReadyMix and then Chandan and Ajax. We'll have to say sorry to Eleganz, unfortunately. But with that, maybe we'll go forward and talk about the next company, ReadyMix Construction. Running slightly behind time, so we'll do it fast. The company offers engineering solutions for designing, developing, fabricating, and installing plant machinery and equipment, including dry mix mortar plants, concrete plant support, silos, and customized projects. And it kind of comes to what we were discussing with Ajax. This is like another version of that. They give ready mix concrete, if I have to kind of understand it right, and they do EPC for that, but we'll talk about that. It's a SME IPO. So 38 crores of IPO, all of which is a fresh issue. The market cap is 135 crores. So company is raising 38 crores at 135 crore market cap. So again, diluting like 27-28%. In terms of the financials, FY24 financials, 70 crores of revenue and 10 crores of PAT. There's some questions on the 9-month revenues of FY25. Some of them were raised in chat also, so I'm assuming Tanmay you will cover it when you talk about it. But just talking about FY24 financials, they made 10 crores of PAT, so coming at like 14-15 P FY24. In terms of the LM is AIM Security. So with that, maybe Tanmay, do you want to go ahead and talk about RMC.
Yes. So ReadyMix Construction Machinery Limited is a manufacturer and supplier of construction equipments like dry mix mortar plants, concrete plant, silos, which are used in storage of bulk materials like gypsum, cement, and limes. Artificial sand plants also they make. They also make wall putty plants and some customized kind of projects. Okay. The company is having 114 employees. It is raising 37.66 crores, out of which 24 crores will be towards working capital. I'll explain the working capital structures after this. They are raising 5.25 crores for debt, repayment of debt. They have almost 17 crore on the balance sheet. After that, the debt will come down to 11.8 odd crore, and 7.35 will be GCP. In FY 23, they did a revenue of 55 crores and PAT was 2.8 crores. In FY 24, revenue was 70 crores and PAT was 9.3 crores. In first 9 months, revenue was just 35 crores and PAT was 1 crore only. Okay. So let me clarify here कि इनका 60% around revenues comes in the last quarter. Okay, Q4. I know कि in SME में Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 नहीं रहता, but last 3 months consider. So they will derive that much revenues in Q4, which is said by various, I guess, this brokers analyst meet also. And the PAT, so the margins get normalized after getting the bottom line in Q4 only, because they get majorly their receipts in Q4. Okay, and based on the working capital, I'll provide the estimates. So on considering the working capital estimates, FY 25 current financials, they are projecting 85 crores of a top line and like almost 9.5 crore kind of a bottom line. Okay, and in FY 26, as per the estimates, they are projecting 50 to 55% growth. So इसके हिसाब से 120 crore revenue होता है. And if I just check out, go over with the same kind of margin, almost 14-15 crore of PAT निकल के आ रहा है. Okay. The company is coming at 135 crore market cap. FY 24 pay, it's coming at roughly 14 and a half, 15 times on FY 25 current financial year, around 13-14 times. Okay. The company is also planning to venture in the trading of load cell tank weighing systems and advanced liquid construction chemicals. Okay, which will largely be what I feel is top line lucrative only. Bottom line, I'm not sure कि कितना margin, they will be profitable, but I'm not sure whether the margins will be like, I don't feel they would be more than high single digit margins. Okay, so let's hope they do better margins. And one interesting thing is the LM is Haim Securities, and after Danish Power, which was the largest SME IPO till date, which was in October, उनके बाद इनका पहला SME IPO आया. They did 2 main boards after that. One was this Enviro, and one was, I guess, one more was a Mainboard IPO. Okay, so they have done 2 main boards after Danish, and their first SME after almost, I would say, 3 months, more than 3 months. So an anchor book was quite interesting. Okay, so an anchor book, we had NAV Capital, Earth AIF, Eminence Global Fund, FinAvenue, Meru Investment, Matron India, Next Orbit, Rajasthan Global, स्मार्ट होराइजन, जील ग्लोबल. मतलब इंटरेस्टिंग ऐसा है कि यार 10 करोड़ के एंकर बुक में वी हैव गॉट ऑलमोस्ट 10 नेम्स एंड 9 आउट ऑफ 10 एंकर्स हैव गॉट 1 करोड़ वर्थ अलॉटमेंट. मतलब इससे समझ आ रहा है कि डिमांड तो है इसके अंदर. ओवरऑल इफ आई चेक सी की यार 13-14 टाइम्स ऑफ 25 में दिस काइंड ऑफ अ कंपनी इज नॉट expensive. I guess it's reasonable only. So and considering like Haim Securities, I know some of their issues didn't do well, but overall they are known to deliver well. I feel one can take a punt, इसमें पैसा बन सकता है, and the issue is they're reasonably priced. I haven't fully checked on the cash flows or bank balances or promoter, but थोड़ा सा टाइम स्टेंट था, बट ओवरऑल मुझे तो अच्छा ही लगा ये. आई फील कि यार मतलब इफ द मार्केट्स वर वेरी वेरी गुड, ये 50% आराम से लिस्ट होता. इन इवन इन करंट मार्केट्स आई वोंट बी सरप्राइज इफ इट लिस्टेड लाइक 20-30% ऑड. तो ओवरऑल ठीक ही है. एंकर बुक में डिमांड अच्छा था, so decent है. मतलब I didn't found much anything negative. Yes, if the Q4 doesn't go as per expectations, it might spoil the party, but I don't feel it is going to happen considering the estimates and the what we can say ground level talks about the company. So overall, small risk takers can apply, but I don't feel it will list in discount. It should list at good premium only.
यार 60% रेवेन्यू Q4 क्यों है? लाइक आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड फ्रॉम द फैक्ट कि अगर लेट्स से वो फेजेस में भी करते हैं और उनको पेमेंट बाद में आता है, तो पेमेंट मेथड या तो उनका रिकॉग्नाइजेशन
नहीं तो
चाहिए।
दे हैव सेड कि हमारा 60% ऑफ साल का रेवेन्यू लास्ट के 3 मंथ्स में रिसीट्स आती
हाँ
है. दे
तो
हैव आल्सो
पहले
सेड इन
रिसीव
ब्रोकर्स
करो ना
मीट
उसको,
आल्सो.
मतलब उसको पहले रिकॉग्नाइज करो ना, अगर तुम्हारा प्रोजेक्ट हो गया तो रिसिप्ट नहीं आई तो लाइक आइडियली
अभी
उसको
अभी
एटलीस्ट
यार
राइट
वो तो
गुड,
ऐसी
राइट?
क्या है, ये कंपनी पे थोड़ा डेटा कम है, नहीं तो आई वुड हैव केम विद द आंसर्स. बट जितना मुझे समझ में आया दे सेड कि 60% विल कम इन Q4 एंड बॉटम लाइन का भी पूरा लास्ट के 3 मंथ्स में ही
कोई
आएगा.
इंटरव्यू
तो उसके
वगैरह है
हिसाब
इसका?
से 80
कोई
85 करोड़
इंटरव्यू
का.
वगैरह है कहीं
हाँ.
पे, यूट्यूब वगैरह पे कहीं पे इंटरव्यू है इसका?
नहीं नहीं नहीं, ज्यादा ज्यादा नहीं है. मुझे जितना डेटा मिला उसके हिसाब से एक्चुअली हैवंट चेक ये कंपनी लाइक. मुझे
गॉट इट।
पहले तो पेपर पे इतनी अच्छी नहीं लगी थी ये. बाद में फिर मैंने इसको पढ़ा थोड़ा टाइम देगा, तो मुझे तो यार वो ना ठीक लगी कि नहीं, थोड़ा सा इसमें लोगों को बात समझ नहीं आ रही है, बट कंपनी बुरी नहीं है. और एंकर बुक में डिमांड अच्छा था, लाइक थोड़ा ग्राउंड रिपोर्ट भी अच्छा ही आया है
I
इस पे.
feel because it's a game issue, 10 anchors. So again, my personal opinion, I doubt this will go into discount because there will be a lot of interest of protecting the IPO price per se at a high level. But again, we'll have to see how the projections are because again, nothing has been spoken about the company as such. It's been slightly on the silent end per se.
Sir, actually, the numbers received by some unofficial sources or ground levels or even the working capital, generally they are matching only. I won't say कि बहुत ज्यादा disparity है numbers में. So at this point, let's trust those numbers. तो उसके हिसाब से तो ठीक ही है. The numbers I have received is like 80-85 crore top line and 19 crore bottom line. तो उसके हिसाब से होना चाहिए.
So
Ideally,
sir,
तीनों अलग अलग लोग के
FY26,
तीनों मैच कर रहा है.
FY26 you are saying, right?
नहीं नहीं, current financial 25.
FY25, 19 crore PAT.
नहीं 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 नहीं, 9 to 10 crore पैट एंड 80
अच्छा
85
गॉट इट,
टॉप लाइन.
9 सो
मतलब
सिमिलर.
रफली
बेसिकली
15
रिपीट
बीस
मान लो.
परसेंट 15.
FY24 को रिपीट मार दिया तूने, रेवेन्यू बढ़ा दिया
रिपीट
और
मान लो, टॉप लाइन का तो
PAT.
बॉटम लाइन उतना ही है. हाँ हाँ हाँ, रिपीट ही है. थोड़ा सा ज्यादा रहेगा,
हाँ
मतलब ऑलमोस्ट एक
समझ गया.
5-10% बॉटम लाइन
अच्छा
ग्रोथ.
इसका जो धंधा है, अगेन मे बी इफ यू नो, इसमें क्या अलग है? लाइक व्हाई कांट समवन एल्स डू इट? एंड अगेन आई वाज थिंकिंग रेडीमिक्स कंक्रीट क्योंकि उनका नाम वैसा लग रहा है, बट यू सेड दे मेक इट्स मशीनरी प्लांट वगैरह, राइट? तो वो
सर मतलब ऑनेस्टली आई डोंट हैव मच आंसर्स टू योर क्वेश्चंस.
मे बी दैट वुड बी
No,
इंटरेस्टिंग टू सी, राइट, कि
I'll
हाउ
try
मच
to
फी
make
शुड बी
a
गिवन.
note on this on Monday and I'll post. I'll try to give some answer because मुझे खुद को पता है I have researched 80% but 20% is still left from my part. So I'll clarify that few stuff on Monday.
ठीक है, perfect, perfect. But yeah, again, I will go ahead and apply ReadyMix. Maybe with that, we'll kind of go towards closing. I'll say what I'm planning to do. I'll go apply ReadyMix tomorrow and then repeat that money in Ajax. I'm definitely hoping Ajax gets low subscribed to get some allotment, and then Ajax, and then definitely apply Chandan as well. So that's my strategy. Then Rohit, what are you guys planning to do, and anything that you want to cover before we end the space? Just one more question: if someone has joined in between, hasn't listened to the to the reviews of all the companies, I'll post it on my YouTube as well. The link is on our YouTube. The link is in the पिन कमेंट्स. ऊपर संडे इन्वेस्टिंग का लिंक है, आप उसको भी ज्वाइन कर लीजिए. जस्ट सब्सक्राइब टू द चैनल एंड विल पोस्ट इट टुनाइट और लेटेस्ट बाय टुमारो मॉर्निंग. ओवर टू तन्मय एंड रोहित.
Okay, I'll first tell my strategy. I'm going completely full force in Ajax because allotment will be very liberal, and I'm sure कि premium to listing के पहले तो I mean sorry, IPO close होने के पहले तो नहीं बढ़ने वाले, उसके बाद ही बढ़ेंगे जो होगा वो. So I will be going full force in it. SME level पे if I give the prioritization, मतलब यार चंदन ना IPO एक्चुअली बहुत बहुत अच्छा है, बट आई डाउट कंसीडरिंग दी फ्लोट की ये 10-15% के ऊपर लिस्ट होगा कि नहीं, आई एम नॉट श्योर. बट कंपनी बहुत अच्छी लगी, मुझे तो बहुत अच्छी लगी. आई वुड से कि यार 25 करोड़ पैट पे अगर आप सुरक्षा को 2400 मार्केट कैप दे सकते हो, तो FY25 के 25 करोड़ पे आप इसको 400 पे भी यार महंगा तो नहीं कह सकते. मतलब दैट वुड बी अनफेयर फॉर SME कंपनीज. ओके, सो तो आई फील दैट वुड हैव डन एक्सट्रीम लेवल इफ द मार्केट्स आर लिक्विडिटी सारा अगर जगह पे रहता तो. सो I would say कि my priority, I am a bit confused between this Eleganz and RMC. I'm in all three SMEs, Eleganz, आपका चंदन एंड RMC. I'm going to apply. किसमें कितना ज्यादा लगाना, that I haven't decided. But हाँ, Ajax में full force
रिच
is
बॉय यार, रिच बॉय.
कितना भी कुछ
सब
भी हो जाए,
कंपनी अप्लाई
जीरो भी
करेगा.
हो जाए प्रीमियम से, I'm going to apply full force.
रिच बॉय तन्मय, सब कंपनी अप्लाई करेगा. रोहित, व्हाट्स योर स्ट्रेटेजी?
सब कंपनी अप्लाई करूंगा. But yeah, definitely like Ajax is looking like a very, very hopefully sneaky one that we can get if the GMP stays subdued. We'll definitely do Chandan, and then that money will have. So I will not have much for Eleganz if I'm going to keep everything for these. So I might as well decide between the Solarium and what is the other one? RMC. Honestly, I haven't studied RMC that much, just listening to what Tanmay said today. So I'll also just see if I can do a little bit quick reading. But probably RMC looks safer because float is lesser. It is hem, decent-ish anchors, decent. Problem is, Janta will not understand this 1 crore. I've seen enough people chillifying on Twitter and on Chittorgarh saying somewhat 40, 100p, whatever it's coming at, because you extrapolate 1 crore for the full year. So देखना पड़ेगा कितना retail support करेगा इसको on listing. So apart from that, the company looked okay. So I will keep for Chandan and Ajax, and the rest will, so whatever some amount I'll have to figure out between these two, Solarium and RMC. And neither, honestly, I'm expecting huge gains. Solarium, I don't think there's any chance of gain. It's just I don't think there is, it's not going to list negative thanks to Beeline and BR Gohil 2.0. And this maybe RMC might give gain. So I'll take that call tomorrow.
सोलेरियम ना आईपीओ पहले भी आया था, बीच में खुला था वो, फिर वो बंद हो गया. तो जब वो खुला था तब उसको क्रेजी जीएमपी था, 100 रुपए जीएमपी चल रहा था. फिर उसके बाद वो बंद हो गया, फिर उसके बाद मार्केट गिर गया. उसको हम कोई नहीं पूछ रहा. If only they would have listed back then, it would have opened
So
at
back
like
then,
90%.
it opened at 90%, but subscription also been 9,000 times.
Yes.
This is very funny nowadays. If you have GMP of 20%, plus company will subscribe 2,000 times. If you have GMP of 10 minus, it will subscribe 10 times or 5 times.
Flat. If you pull and pop a lot, you will 10% से नीचे 20 के ऊपर सब डाल देंगे. So that's the simple strategy right now.
Very funny.
Let's see how it evolves. But yeah, what we'll do is we'll do one more space where we'll talk about the 4 companies which we haven't spoken right now. Hexaware, PS Raj, Volar Car and Maxvolt. None of them seem super interesting at a high level. So if we don't do a space, you will know what our review is. But we'll try and do a space closer to Friday where we'll talk about all 4 of them. Hexaware is a mainboard issue, big size issue. And then we have these 3 SME IPOs, PS Raj, Volar Car and Maxvolt. So we'll do them and then we'll probably decide how to go forward with that. But yeah, with that, we'll end today's space. Thank you so much guys for joining. If you haven't joined YouTube, please go ahead and the link is in the pinned comments. Go ahead and follow, subscribe to YouTube channel. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.